yourself and let all the basic haters lurk, baby. That face that sounds so right, clown pay and waist so tight, boys, girls, and in between. It's time to crown your queen. Let's go.
You're one of the finalists for the show. The big question is sort of, what would a win mean to you? And what do you think your crowning would represent for the show?
A win would mean so much to me personally, because obviously, like I was mentioning at the first episode of the show, I grew up loving drag and wanting to do drag. And I was always told that I couldn't do drag. And then when I started doing drag, people told me I couldn't be on the show. And now I'm standing in the top 4 and I could win the show. So it is personally just such an insane thing, and like just shown my growth to myself on a spiritual level. And then to the community, I think it would just show the exact same thing, that this box that society is trying to put you in does not exist. Drag is an art form. It is for everyone. And I'm ready to keep pushing the limits and break these doors down that people think that they put up for us. And it would be really major for so many reasons.
Well, speaking of that, you are the first trans man to compete on Drag Race. We've talked before, and you might have thought you knew what that meant sort of going into the show, but how has like being on the show actually changed sort of what, if it has, what you think that means to the community and beyond?
You know, going into the show, I have mentioned that I was just super cautious and I was super careful about what I said. And like, I just wanted to be the perfect trans role model, because it was something that I didn't have growing up. And it was what held me back from transitioning for so long. So I just wanted to be that so bad. And then RuPaul literally said to me, she was just like, you don't need to worry about all of that. Like, you just need to relax and just be yourself, because that's all that matters. And it literally just changed my life. And I realized that visibility is the best way to be a role model. It's like literally just being yourself is what people are connecting with, and telling my story from like the most authentic place possible is what people would be inspired by and connect with across the board. So yeah, I definitely just learned to stop worrying about what I'm saying and trying to prepare. I just want to tell my story from the most genuine, authentic place, and hopefully it connects with people and resonates.
How do you think the Drag Race journey like helped change your drag? Like, I know you've sort of mentioned some things on the show, like you went in being like, I wear white face and black lips and that's the Gottmik look, blah, blah, blah. And like, you sort of are doing like a play on that today. You know, like, how do you think being on the show has like made you a better queen?
The show, it showed me that I had like all of the pieces to be America's Next Drag Superstar. And then with RuPaul's guidance and being under a microscope to the public eye and just watching myself every week, that journey was like a drag boot camp and put all those pieces together for me. And I knew I always had that power. I knew I was funny. Like, I knew I could be gorgeous and have a little gorgeous waist. And I had, you know, I knew I had all that, but I just had never put it all together at the same time. And now that I have that, I just feel like I am America's Next Drag Superstar. Like, I feel like I could take over the world, and no matter what happens, I feel like I won in so many different ways.
One of the things you've talked about on the show a little bit is about sort of like realizing you're funny and like having, you know, you won Snatch Game, you did really well in the roast. Have you come to terms with that now? And like, do you think, you know, you're a comedy queen of some sort?
I mean, Bianca Del Rio would definitely disagree probably, but I think I would definitely love to explore that so much more. And like I was saying, it's just, I knew I was always funny. I just didn't know I could execute it that way. And I didn't know I could literally sit down, write a joke and deliver it on stage with good timing. And just seeing myself do that and letting go and just trusting the process and watching it back, I'm like, oh my God, like, you can do that, bitch. So it's definitely something I'm so excited to explore in the future, which is so weird because my dad is like so obsessed with roasts and everything. And he would force me to watch like Greg Giraldo and like all these roast people like growing up. And so I'm like, so weird. I was like, why do you not think you could do that? It's the weirdest thing to me, but here we are. Now I'm dying to go on a roast tour.
Well, like, how much that you knew that format? Because there are some people that are like, oh, doing roasts is just being mean. Do you know what I mean? Like, and not just talking about you guys, but like about roasting in general, like,
Mhm.
and sort of getting what the roast like is, I think is a big part of that sort of challenge.
I think when I won the reading challenge, I kind of started to realize, I was like, oh, I can just find little things that aren't crazy offensive, but like people would probably notice, and just kind of do a little compliment and then drive it home with like the kind of sharp edge that's like a read, I guess. And then when I got to the roast, I was like, it's basically the reading challenge. I just have to, which I do all the time in the workroom, I just have to hone it in and make sure the timing's cute. And so when I just sat down and wrote it, I just kind of took it like that. I was like, me and these girls roast each other every single day. I just have to organize it now.
After your set, I really realized that it's so fitting that your name begins with the letters UTI, because you make me extremely uncomfortable and I feel like I need a full bottle of pills to forget about you.
Well, you also went right after Utica, which was kind of like a weird place to go in the roast. But you did have a very good Utica joke that you like launched into. And so I was sort of wondering, like, did you have that joke about her going in? You just sort of like tweaked it, and like, how did you sort of get the room back?
I actually saw online a lot of people were like, wow, that's such a hard position to be in, like bringing the life back into the roast. I was like, bro, that's the position I would have wanted. I was so confident in like my just a stage presence and comedy at that point that I was like, this is amazing. The juxtaposition of that set to mine is just like the dream to me. And I mean, Utica is just a little angel of life, and you know, she's just a very nice angel. And so I think roasting was just a little not her forte, which, you know, whatever. And coming in there and being able to just go right after her was very fun. I loved that roast so much.
Yeah, it almost seems like there'd be like a good energy going into it versus like there was some heat in the room, I guess you could say. Like you were dealing with that.
And like I said, she's just so nice and like amazing. I was like, oh my God, she's like a literal angel trying to roast. I just went up there and I was like, okay, thank God that's over, everyone. Anyway, it was so funny.
Welcome, Paris Hilton.
Hey, Ru, how's it going? Just let me know when the cameras are rolling and we'll kill it.
Well, we've started. The cameras are rolling.
That's so embarrassing. Sorry. I'm so happy to be here.
My goodness, your voice changed just then when you found out that we were on camera.
You're so obsessed with me, it's everything.
I kind of am obsessed with you.
Oh God, you're so hot.
Speaking of another challenge, you also won Snatch Game for your amazing Paris Hilton, who, you know, you actually know and who actually showed up in your makeup tutorial after the fact, like calling in. Did you run it by her before you did it? Were you worried about what she'd say? And are you shocked that she'd never been a Drag Race judge? Because like, I am shocked.
I know, that is crazy, actually. I did not run it by her before, which the second I got off the show, I was like, maybe I should have run it by her. And I was fully like, tossing and turning in bed, like for maybe a couple months, being like, should I tell her? Like, should I not? And then I would warm it up by like telling one of her friends. I'd be like, should I tell Paris that I did this? And I was kind of worried about what she would think, but at the same time, I know I painted her a handful of times, and she is just such an amazing person. She literally is just so carefree and funny and just like the most amazing spirit. And so I was like, obviously I was in such good nature and so fun, and she loves drag and the community. And so I was like, there's no way she's gonna be upset. Like I made sure to keep them like the jokes not crazy. It was like a classy Paris moment.
She came in through the TCA room of her like YouTube documentary, which is really amazing. And
Yes.
My coworker is like, I have to ask if I can get a selfie, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, here's the filter you need to use. Like, let's use my lighting. Like she had a guy that had a light and like all this crazy shit. And we were like, she's incredible. Like she's
literally like has the filters ready to go. Like she'll take someone's phone and like do it for you. It's everything. She's truly the best. And she's like changing the world right now. She's like really smart, and I'm just so proud of her.
For those keeping score, if you won, you'd be the first sort of like LA, quote unquote, LA queen to take the crown for quite a few seasons. Like,
Yes.
in your mind, sort of what is the LA drag scene, and like, how do you rep for Los Angeles?
Yeah, when I moved out to LA, it's actually so funny. Raja and I met when I was full 18 and like had just moved out here. I don't even know how we met. but we would do random makeup jobs together with like Austin Young, and we did like Raja styled Mae Musk, and I was doing makeup with her, and it was just so weird how I could be the next America's Next Drag Superstar after Raja, and then Raja had such a hand in my drag persona and growing up in LA pretty much, because I've known her since I moved here. So it's so weird how that works. It's like a little manifestation in a way without even realizing it. But the LA drag scene, when I moved here, I definitely thought it was very like, who's just the prettiest girly? I think I was just like, everyone wanted to be like that gorgeous Beverly Hills woman. And then I showed up and I like, am this, which is so the opposite of that. So I was definitely just not really fitting into the LA scene, but that was fine with me. I was like, whatever, it's like making me stand out and it helps me grow as an artist, and I love LA.
So since we're talking about the finale, let's talk about reveals. Like, big reveals have become sort of de rigueur for the Drag Race finales. What are your thoughts on reveals? And like, is there pressure to sort of like, I mean, obviously last season, weird Zoom finale, but like, is there pressure to sort of one up the people that have come before you?
I think going into the finale, when I was like starting to plan things out, I did kind of have that mentality of like, oh my gosh, I need to have these reveals and I need to look a certain way and, you know, like up the people before me, like you said. But then, and I started designing these outfits and things, and then I looked at them and I was like, I don't do that. Like, like a lot of the things I was designing, it was just because I thought that's what people wanted of me. And so literally I sat down, scrapped everything and redesigned everything just to fit me. Because that's like the biggest lesson I learned on Drag Race is I succeed when I am 100% myself. I'm not trying to be anyone else. And that is what you need to do to be America's Next Drag Superstar. So I said, fuck what I thought the finale needs to be and what everyone thinks I need to look like, because I'm just going to go out there and be 100% Gottmik, because that's what got me here in the first place.
RuPaul's Drag Race UK just wrapped up, and they had a 7-month break right in the middle because like COVID happened and the lockdown. What would you have done with a 7-month break right in the middle of the US season?
Okay, a 7-month break is so crazy. I actually think about that all the time. Like, if that break wasn't there, like what would the competition have been like? Because that is so, like, that's such a long time. And the fact that they got to like switch their outfits too. I'm like, I don't even know what I would do. I definitely would level up some of my looks. I would somehow be the most flexible angel of my life. Both of the legs would be behind my head. I would be like, I don't even know. I would go in. But at the same time, when you're there is just such this momentum and energy, and like you're just in this mode of like, I'm going to win this, and you have to like focus the whole time. So that break is almost like could be a disadvantage. So that's scary. I was like, those girls, like, God bless them. That is a memento.
Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Lonnie Love. I just cannot believe I am standing up here presenting my comedy in front of you. I knew there was gonna be budget cuts this season, but I didn't know it was gonna affect the judges panel too.